so today we're going to podcast, and we were discussing this. I met you, what, a month ago maybe? I sold you something on Marketplace, and I was so impressed, Pamela, by your art. Your art's amazing, and and then you had a little bit of a story that you shared with me, and I was busy. I was with my friend, and I really wanted to just find out more about the story. And the story was, as you were talking to me, you were talking to me about a little hole in the wall. Can you explain what happened there?
Well, I'm very cognizant of people and how they perceive me because I live with vertigo as a result of that hole in the wall. A vertigo that will not go away. It's not the crystals in the ear and whatever. It is brain trauma, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So what had happened, it was, just to go back a little bit, um, well, quite a bit actually. When COVID hit, it was I was noticing that my vision and my steadiness and so forth, my balance particularly, was in question. And I noticed it at first when we went to the beach and to the lake here. And of course, when I fell and I hit my head on a huge boulder, broke my wrist and concussion and what have you. And I really attributed it to the rocks, my age, and I was stumbling around. So I didn't think anything about that, treated, and came back home and had another concussion that happened as well, not as severe. But this last one was one where I had started drinking. And believe it or not, I mean, I've never really considered myself a huge drinker
Mm-hmm.
because I came from such a strict background
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't looked at in a good manner. So I just never really took it up, and I had kids and so forth. But you know, I started drinking, thinking, well, maybe that'll help. Yeah, right. With balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tried everything. I tried weed. I tried anything that could give me some kind of balance because my balance was so bad. So anyway, I drank that particular day to excess, and I went to get up. I heard my daughter come in through the house, and I got up quickly, and the blanket I had on me fell down to my feet, wrapped around my feet. And you know how when you're running, trying to catch your balance?
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened. I was excelling faster and faster until finally I hit the wall, and I hit hard, and I was out. Apparently, I was out for quite a while. I didn't know that. I didn't remember a lot of that till after the fact.
Right.
Somehow, I woke up and came back to my chair, and then went back out to see my daughter, and I had blood all down my face because I cracked open my head, and I didn't know it. And she said, "Mom, what are you doing? What happened? You've been drinking." And she had noticed I'd been drinking as well. So anyway, went to the hospital and found out that that was quite a trauma to my brain.
Right. And you were saying that, okay, a couple things will back up. You were saying that you had grown up strict.
Very strict.
What kind of strictness? Can you tell me?
Well, first of all, I'm an American,
Okay.
so I don't know with that. A lot of people,
Yeah.
but I've been in Canada much longer than I've been in Canada since I was 20. I got married at 20
Okay.
and was with the same guy for 30 years. And anyway, yeah, it just, I was from a political family.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was with the military and
Mm-hmm.
very strict, and
Were they religiously strict?
very religiously strict.
Did you grow up in a religion?
Yeah,
What one?
evangelical,
Okay.
but really strict evangelical.
Okay.
So there was no drinking there. Obviously,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
no dancing, there was no smoking, there's nothing like that.
Right.
Couldn't even go to the theaters or anything.
Right.
So although I didn't adhere to all of those rules, I'm the rule breaker in most of the time. That it made me very angry. It made me angry because there's no explanation to it. It's just, this is the way it is.
Right.
And it was coming down from a very patriarch type of a strong. I have three brothers, and so I was the only girl other than my mother in the family.
Right.
So it made me angry, but it also made me very determined to do my own thing and find out what the world was about on my own terms.
Right. And so did you, so we'll fast forward. So you grow up, you're strict, you end up drinking a little bit too much at times in your life. You then hit your head, you have vertigo. Or you hit a head because you drank too much and that, stumbled,
Mm,
blah, blah, blah.
mm.
What conspired after that? What happened to you after that?
Well, it's really interesting because I didn't really put it together until almost a week later. Obviously, I had this excruciating headaches. I couldn't stand the light. I had to shut the light down in my room and wherever I was at. And I noticed that my balance was way worse. I could barely go from to my kitchen without holding on to something. So I'd stammer around, and for all intents and purposes, I looked like I was a drunk anyway.
Right.
And so now I was really concerned about what people may think, going out in public. But I noticed with it came anxiety, tremendous anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe it was because I didn't know what was going on in my life. My brain wasn't fully capable of cognizant thought. And for example, if I was to bake something, I couldn't do anything more than three levels down because I couldn't remember it.
Hmm.
So if it said put sugar, milk, whatever in it, I'd have to go back and look again. Sugar, what was it? Oh, milk. Okay. That type of thing. So I was starting to realize that something was wrong, that this must be a severe concussion.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to the doctor, and of course they did MRIs and on the brain and so forth, and it showed. And basically, what they told me is that it might get a little bit better, but don't expect don't expect it to be like it was before.
Right.
And so I went to a trauma counselor, and she suggested along the road how to deal with it, living with vertigo, living with brain trauma, what kind of tools you use. I'd never heard of those things. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up, as I told you, strict.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go to counselors if we
Right.
needed a counselor. That showed weakness, and you never show weakness. So, so very quickly I learned that there was tools how to handle it. And for example, if I went into a pub or something and there was tons of people, and I knew that my vertigo gets worse at night,
Mm.
she had advised me to look for the exit signs and look to where your road is clear ahead, how you're going to get in and out, and be aware of those things ahead of time, know where the bathroom is, so forth. That helped a lot. And even so, perhaps leaving 5 minutes early so you don't deal with the crowd bumping you and jarring you,
Right.
and
Right.
that had a lot of brought a lot of anxiety. If I was in a crowd, it started, and I never had that problem before, but it all happened as a result of that. So she also suggested that she knew I was an artist in my past,
Mm.
and she said, why don't you pick up your art? And I said, my hand isn't even steady. How am I going to do that? She said, well, it might make your hand steadier in the long run, or just do it for how long you can do it. If you can only do it for a half an hour, then that's all. Because there was a lot of whiplash in my neck. And this might even bother me after a while. I might have to change it so that I
Yeah. Yeah.
can keep, because my neck gets frozen, if you will.
Yeah.
So, so I did. Eventually, it took me about a month to get the courage to do art. It takes courage to be an
It
artist.
really does. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. It takes courage to do a lot of things.
A lot of things, to write a book, to
Yeah.
write
really does.
poetry,
To do podcasts. It takes.
to be your authentic self takes
Really,
courage.
really does.
And we're all trying to find what that is,
Yeah.
and that continually changes as we get older.
Yeah. So the other thing that really interested me about you, Pamela, and I know our meeting was very short, but I was just intrigued by you. And
Thank you.
the other thing that really intrigued me was your spirituality.
Mm.
Did your spirituality come before the the fall, or how did you find spirituality again through such strict rules, and how did you find a alignment with God? Or does God trigger you? Do you like to use the words universe? Do you like
creator?
To use creator,
I
divine
use
spirit?
creator.
Okay,
I do. I use guide
because as I've talked to people, words like God really, really trigger people because
Yeah.
it's been attributed to a Christian mindset,
Yeah.
and so then
Exactly.
for that purpose, I understand that, and there's been a lot of strictness, and Jesus is really about freedom and expression and what have you. And yeah, there's a set of rules, but it's really just to love one another and care for one another. So how did
Pretty
you?
simple.
Yeah, it's really simple. So how did you find that again? How did you come back to an alignment
Well, okay,
with the
let's go
divine?
back. So when I was raised, while I was being raised, I went through the hippie movement
Right.
back then, and you probably can see it in some of my
Yeah, I
art that
love it.
shows it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it allowed me to pursue my freedom. And yet I knew that I was a spiritual creature, even at an age of 7 years old.
Mm.
I knew it. I knew it because my questioning for a 7 year old was wanting to know about eternity, was wanting to know what's
Mm.
after, what, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents noticed that as well. So, to so when I went through the hippie movement, I had got into the drug scene, and consequently, I was shipped off to Canada to a private school there because I had two brothers that were there. So they figured, well, they had high school there. So during my senior year, grade 12, they sent me off to Three Hills, which
Oh,
is in Alberta,
yeah.
and is Prairie Bible Institute. So it's an institution where is extremely strict. You don't talk to the opposite
Right.
sex or anything.
Right.
So, which is ironic because I
Mm-hmm.
was so against that and then to be put there.
Mm.
Well, but it is where I met my ex husband, and consequently, where how I have three children,
Mm-hmm.
two surviving.
Mm.
But since then, I got married, and I married a man who went into um, um, the ministry, and he was a pastor,
Mm-hmm.
so an assistant pastor. So that's how we started our life. So trying to run from it, I just threw myself back into it, not knowingly. I
Mm-hmm.
fell for a person who was. I didn't have any. Well, I did have a choice, but there was a small pickings there. They were all pretty
Right.
religious there.
Right.
So,
Right.
so anyway, so I ended up there, and then later on, I wanted to, and I led all the Bible studies and everything that a good Christian woman was supposed to do, led the women's groups, so forth. And in that search, I kept thinking, I gotta find my own road, and to make a long story short, the marriage didn't last.
Mm-hmm.
Lost a son in the
Mm.
process, and as you know, losing a child is devastating for a marriage, the
Mm-hmm.
best of marriages.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't survive the
Mm.
marriage. And um, and when I went on my own later on, we had a divorce, and so I went on my own, finding this route. And in the process of losing my son, I was very angry,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, at a God, the creator, whatever you want to
Mm-hmm.
call it, a
Mm-hmm.
higher power.
Mm-hmm.
Because my thought was, if you are real, then you're going to have to search me out. Like, I am done with trying to
Wow.
to please you, and
Right.
it's just another patriarch
Right.
kind of experience once again.
Yeah.
And so I came to the conclusion that my God was a female, and was a, well, not female, but yeah, I guess it was.
Mm-hmm.
She was the creator, because in my mind, all women create. So, um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
essentially we create
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So I thought, well,
Grows in
okay,
you.
so
Yeah.
yeah, she's going to be there for me, directing me. So, and I said, you come after me because I'm going. And that's what happened. I ended up finding my way as far as taking care of myself and how I was going to do that. I had a young son, another son who I was trying to raise on my own, plus work full time and whatever. And in the process, trying to figure out where I land, if you will.
And do you find where are you landing now? Where has this all come around? So all of this stuff, how's it all come around?
Well, the pursuit was extreme. I have to tell
Mm-hmm.
you, you probably would think I'm weird, but That's okay.
We're all weird.
A lot of people
Everybody
think
thinks
we're
I'm weird
weird.
too.
I
So
had I had an experience that was really amazing, in that I was at this party and everybody was just stinking drunk, and I mean I was drinking too, but I just looked around and I thought, man, what are they searching for? Why does humans do this to themselves?
right,
They're searching for something. There's some kind of a hole there. They're trying to stuff it and feed it and push it down and not experience it, rather than experience it and figure out what it
right.
is.
Okay.
And as I'm doing that, I'm looking at these poor people, and all of a sudden I get this experience of somebody is at my feet. I'm sitting like this at my feet and putting their head on my lap and holding me and saying, "You are the one I want right now. We're talking about you. Forget about all these people. It is you, Pam." And I said, and all of a sudden I was just filled with this immense love that I had never in my life. I just started sobbing because, and I hadn't been drinking, I hadn't been smoking anything. I was like just out of control, crying. And to the
Mm,
point where the hostess of the house came over and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm trying to get it together. I'm really fine." But I couldn't get over this feeling of being so loved. Like I have never felt like that in my entire
wow.
life. And I did not want to leave that feeling. And I knew instantly that I had to, in my mind, I had to change some choices I was making.
Yeah.
So I went home and I cried for 3 days, nonstop. As soon as I woke up, I thought, the feeling will be gone. It'll be gone, this experience.
Mm,
I don't want it to happen. I
mm,
tried to go back to sleep and hope that it would come back. And it eventually kind of, with it evolved. It just stopped. It didn't stop,
mm.
but it just kind of slowly faded away. And so I was determined to make it a reality, into a reality. So, for example, if I sat down to talk, I'd pull out another chair. And I knew who the chair was for. People would look at me like, "Why are you doing that?"
Mm.
But I was doing it because I wanted this entity to be with me and never to leave me.
Awesome.
And that's exactly what it did. But it changed. My whole religion changed. I no longer was religious. I was spiritual.
Thank
I
you.
was a spiritual being that had an experience that could not deny.
Right.
And because of my religiosity before, if there's such a word,
Yeah, there
I
is.
they people would say, "Well, just throw your religion away." Well, I couldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I knew what I had. I just had to figure out a way in which it just had to do simplified. It's just about love.
It really
That's
is.
all it's about. It's not
Yes.
about judging. It's about judging for yourself. But I don't judge another person. I try not to, because if I do, and that's really hard with what politics that are happening in the
Sure
states.
is. Yeah.
You know,
It's hard to
I
do in relationships,
it's hard.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
You just have to put it eventually aside, because then you become the very thing that you
Yeah.
don't want to be.
Yeah. So true. Pamela, I'm probably getting close to wrapping it up here, believe it or not.
Okay.
It goes so fast. Yeah, you were right there.
Wow.
So
So the
so
art came into play.
right.
Yeah.
So now through all that you've been able to show love through an expression of an art of your
Well,
art.
interesting enough, when I first started, it was very angry, very dark,
Yeah, this
very
one you were
angry. And
saying.
even this is
Yeah.
one of my first pieces,
Yeah.
and it was very angry.
Yeah.
And eventually my art has evolved. I'm trying to still find myself. I kind of like abstract textured, profile-ish type of pictures.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's me too. I love one of my favorite artists was Salvador Dali, and
Ah,
yeah,
mine too.
and so I just
Mine
love
too.
that type of art. I even have an attraction to Picasso stuff just
I do
because it's
too.
so odd and weird. Monet and all the greats. I mean,
Well,
I would just
anything that
love it.
gets you to
Yeah,
go, and
but
captivates you for more than a few seconds
yeah, and then you
is
just
good.
posted one of the. I don't know when you did it, but you just posted a painting or a collage of the reaching out. Is it called Reaching Out?
Hmm.
The blue one.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just yeah. Anyways, where can people find you?
Well, I'm just on Facebook at this point,
Okay, and how
and
do you
word
spell
of
your last
mouth.
name?
I am Bach. So Bach
Imbach.
and Pamela.
Pamela. So I've noticed that you're posting a lot of your pictures, your art on your website,
I
or
don't
on your
have a website.
your
Yeah.
Facebook, yeah, your Facebook page. So
Yeah.
check her out. She's wonderful, and she has got some great art. I love your story, and I know it goes fast. We try to keep them around 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and
Oh, good.
so yeah,
That's
so
good.
it's just a real quick overview, get to know somebody in the valley here, somebody local, also, you know, depending on where these go out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so thank you so much for spending the time with
Oh,
me,
you're very
you know,
welcome.
and this was great, and thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, viewers. Till we meet again.
You bet.
Bye.